Hello, and welcome to Fostering Parent Partnerships in Preschool Programs, sponsored by the City of Burlington Public Schools Early Childhood Center. Our presenters today are Mrs. Christy Sugg, Mrs. Regina Genovese, and Ms. Karen Breisacker. What is a parent partnership, and how is it different from parental involvement?
Having parents as partners in their child's learning, I'm sure, has been a goal of any high-quality preschool program for many years. How programs reach that goal has been a topic of discussion for quite some time. Over the last several years, we have looked at how we can strengthen the partnership between school and home. In order to do this, we first needed to look at the level of parent participation in our own school community. You could possibly think about this in three different ways. Some parents complete the paperwork that needs to be done in order to make sure their child is enrolled. They provide some information about the child and they keep in touch with the child's teacher in regards to anything that's significant that's happening in the child's life. Another parent may be more involved with the school community. They may attend PTA meetings, they may participate in fundraisers, and come to special events that happen within the school. When we create a parent partnership, we're asking the families to be a vested party in their child's education. These families are engaged in the child's learning in a meaningful way. A partnership's created when individuals come together and work towards a common goal. In this case, that goal would be the development of the child's skills and their success in school and in life. Not everyone falls neatly into one of these categories. Things happen in families' lives and things change over time and during the year that play a picture in how the parent can be involved within the school community. Our goal is to create as many parent partnerships as we possibly can for our schools.
What needs to be in place for a successful partnership, and how do you encourage it?
One of the most important things that needs to be in place for this partnership to be successful would be a high level of trust between the families and the school. In order to have open and honest discussions based on a child's strengths and areas of growth, this high level of trust needs to be in place. There also needs to be mutual respect for the role in which each person plays in the child's learning. Teachers need to respect that parents are the child's first teacher and that they know their child best. Parents need to respect the work that the teachers do and the education and background that they have to know what is best practice for the preschool program. Families need to feel valued and know that their voices are heard and that they can be a part of the decision-making when it comes to their child's learning.
How do parent partnerships relate to curriculum and assessment?
When parent partnerships are formed successfully, parents can help share what children can do. This helps teachers know what skills they need to build upon. We look at this as a strength-based approach. Teachers are able to plan and share activities and experiences that can be completed at home with parents, and parents are able to see and connect the learning to the home environment. Most importantly, teachers are able to share the why creating those experiences are important for a child's development. They're able to focus on the process of how learning occurs and how it can occur in everyday situations when families are together with their children. When it comes to assessment, teachers are able to ask for the parents' input and documentation for those experiences. Sending a message to the parent in a particular way can help. I like to call this the ask message. And here's an example. A teacher sends a message that says, "I would love it if you could send me a picture or a video by Tuesday of Kayla's building that she's talking about in our group time. This would help me understand how Kayla is balancing the boxes that she has been using. Maybe she could even measure the building and tell us how high it is now." This message asks for a specific thing from the family. It also gives a reasoning behind asking for the documentation. This helps parents learn more about their child and about early childhood education.
How has technology played a role in supporting parent partnerships through the students' learning?
Technology has played a significant role in helping us to create parent partnerships this year in particular. In the past, we've been able to use different apps, make phone calls, speak to families at arrival and departure each day, and that has helped us to create those partnerships. This year, we made a decision to use a specific system as a whole program. This online tool has set us up to have a more systematic and consistent way to communicate with families. We're also allowing parents to take place and meet over online tools and virtual tools in order to be a part of meetings that they wouldn't necessarily been able to attend in the past. Through the use of this system, we have been able to share resources and videos of how to work with children in different scenarios while at home. This is an opportunity that we have not had in the past or never thought of doing on a regular basis. It is definitely something that has helped us create better connections with some of the families this year, and it is a practice that I know we will continue to use in the future.
How has your support of parent partnerships changed with the onset of COVID-19?
With the closure of schools in March of 2020, staff and students found themselves thrust into remote learning with little preparation or training. It became clear very quickly how stressful this situation was for parents with young children who were now at home unable to attend school. Almost instantly, our family support systems were upended. Very rapidly, our parents began taking on more responsibility for their child's education while also maintaining work responsibilities. In addition to this, our families experienced the stress of isolation from friends and loved ones. The usual community of support for our families was disrupted on all levels. Stress levels increased across the board for all families and at times became toxic as families became isolated and responsibilities increased. The reality of how our lives were changing rapidly became clear, and our program had to quickly figure out how to best support our parent partnerships on an online platform. One aspect of our parent partnerships that was upended was our home visit program. Home visits have become an integral part of developing positive first impressions and mutual respect in our preschool program. Prior to COVID, we had implemented a very successful teacher home visit program in which teachers and families would meet in the child's home before school starts. The benefits of this program included a greater understanding and appreciation from both families and school staff. COVID quickly put our home visiting program on hold, and the first time our students met teachers was not in person in their own home, but rather through a computer screen. We started the parent huddle-ups as a way to support families and counteract this loss of support caused by the pandemic. The huddle-ups are based on a team model. Our parents were the players on the team, and we were the coaches. We gathered parent partners together every other week. We encouraged them and pointed out everything that they were doing right and tried to give them new strategies for handling everyday situations. We tried to offer hope for the future as well, reminding them that this would be over someday and that in the meantime, their children would remain connected to their teachers, at least virtually. The huddle-ups became a gathering of parents united around a common goal: to stay connected and supported while children were learning from home. Parents chose what topics they wanted to discuss through interest surveys. Some of the topics included relationships, routines, and resilience, developmental milestones in the ASQ, social emotional learning, anxiety in young children, healthy holidays, how to make memories and pick toys, and how to raise an anti-racist. Most of the topics discussed were regarding everyday issues pertinent to raising a young child. Anxiety in young children and social emotional learning are examples of popular huddle up topics. After witnessing the social unrest and Black Lives Matter protests in our country following the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor over the summer, we decided that we couldn't just come back to school without addressing the hurt and pain that our families of color have endured for many years. We had to address this issue that is so important for all of our families. To ignore this issue would be consenting to the status quo of systemic racism that has a direct negative impact on our students and families every day. This would not be conducive to fostering successful parent partnerships. Our families of color have been suffering from racism, and this was the time to affirm to our families that we support them and we are with them in the struggle for equality. How could we call ourselves partners if we did not make a commitment to doing the hard work of anti-racism? Our parents needed to know that we support them. We wanted our families to know that we denounce racism and that we want to be a part of the solution. Looking closely at the institutions, laws, and social norms that have kept people of color oppressed is essential to understanding how we can easily become part of the problem if we don't stand up and fight racism. We want our families to know that we value their lives and that we want their children to reach their full potential. Racism is toxic to young children and counterproductive to our goal of helping children grow and learn in a healthy environment. We organized a two-part huddle up on the book, How to Raise an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. We began a conversation about race and how it impacts even the youngest children. We discussed how children are not colorblind and that children start noticing color differences at an early age. Children also learn not to speak about the color differences they notice. Confusion and stereotypes grow in that silence. The benefits of tackling this topic were shared not just by parents, but also by staff members in their understanding as their understanding of the topic increased. As with many discussions about racism, many participants left with a feeling that there is still a great deal of work to be done and many more conversations that need to happen. Having these difficult yet necessary conversations about race is a way to show our parent partners that we really care about their children and we want them to grow to reach their full potential in preschool and in life. Another way that our parent partnerships changed was that we were no longer able to have large in-person celebrations together as a group. These celebrations have been vital in strengthening our parent partnerships and building community in the past. The gingerbread party and Valentine's Day party are enjoyable ways that our teachers, along with their own family members, have celebrated with students and their families. We have a yearly gingerbread party here in our community that is always well attended by staff and students. With a little creativity, we were able to translate these community building functions into an online version. Doorstep deliveries were made with materials and directions for how to participate were included as well. Having everyone together, even if remotely, was a way for us to identify ourselves as a community and provide support to our parent partners. Our parent partnerships were strengthened by these events, and families were grateful to have the chance to celebrate with other preschool families in our community.
How do we help parent partners become leaders within the school?
An important part of forming parent partnerships is to regard the family as experts in their own child, which they are. We have a lot to learn about our students, and our families can provide valuable information that we are not privy to. This fact has come to the forefront of our preschool program because we have had to rely heavily on parent input in order to assess our students. We approach our parents from the viewpoint that they are their children's first teachers. And just like information is shared from grade level to grade level as a child goes through school, information from the parents given to the preschool teacher is essential to forming a positive learning environment. Frequently, we create partnerships with parents who obviously have a lot to contribute to our preschool community. These parents show up at every event and seem almost thirsty for a higher level of involvement. These parents are eager to be involved and usually find their niche in the PTA or the Early Childhood Advisory Council or in other ways. However, there are many potential parent leaders that are not so obvious to us. They may want to become a greater part of their child's educational career, but they lack the confidence or knowledge to do so. That is why it is important for us to make sure that each family is valued and their input is elicited. Teachers take the time each year to sit down with families during home visits before the school year starts and speak to them about their hopes and dreams for their child. This initial connection on an even playing field will hopefully set the stage for families to feel comfortable with school staff and empowered to become advocates for their children.
When you reflect upon how the pandemic has changed our lives, what have you learned? And what can you carry over into a post-pandemic preschool program?
Without a doubt, this pandemic has changed the way we live permanently. There are some changes, however, that are positive. One way that has changed me personally and professionally is that I will never take for granted the fact that all people need to be surrounded by a supportive community in order to learn and grow. This is especially true for our youngest students. The fact that preschool children need each other to learn how to navigate social situations is underlined even more. Our preschool community has been a place of love, support, and learning for thousands of Burlington City students. This pandemic has underlined just how important this program is to the youngest residents of Burlington City. As we continue to return to more in-person learning, each student that walks in the door feels special and their arrival is exciting. We're reminded of why we entered this profession in the first place, and if we were ever wondering if we really have jobs that make a difference, this pandemic has proven to us without a doubt that our professions are meaningful and truly make a difference in the lives of young people. Prior to COVID-19, we would hold parent workshops throughout the year. I would work long hours, late organizing topics, refreshments, and childcare. Frequently, these events would have a low turnout. When we reflected upon these workshops, it was obvious to us that it is very difficult to have families come back to school for workshops in the evening after they've just completed a long day at work. Families wanted to spend time at home with their children. They didn't want to have to get them out of the house again and put them back into some sort of childcare. We addressed this low turnout initially by changing the format of workshops. We began holding family functions on Saturdays and planned for parents and children to participate together in fun activities focused around specific skills such as early literacy, gross motor development, and social skills. This has been a more successful model recently, and our parent participation in these events was very good. Enter COVID. We can't hold anything in person. However, because of necessity, our families became familiar with video conferencing platforms like Zoom. Families were Zooming with relatives, children were in online classes, and everything moved to the computer screen. We moved our parent workshops to the computer screen as well. Looking forward to a post-pandemic world, it is easy to see how this model of outreach to families is actually something positive that has arisen out of the pandemic. The prospect of going forward with future workshops that will be available online has the potential to make our connections with our parent partners even stronger. We are excited to see how this new way to connect with families will increase the strength and number of our parent partnerships.
Why is developmental screening important, and what role do parents play in the process?
Universal screening is done in early childhood settings to determine if there's a potential delay in a child's development and whether there's a need for further and more comprehensive evaluation. Early identification and intervention leads to better outcomes for students with a potential delay or disability. Appropriate developmental screeners provide a snapshot in time of the child's development compared to other children of the same age. Tools selected by early childhood programs need to be standardized, reliable, and valid. They need to target a range of developmental domains. Common domains include motor, fine and gross, language, expressive and receptive, cognitive, problem-solving, and adaptive skills. In addition to the importance of selecting the right tool, it is essential that screening occurs in an environment in which the child feels comfortable. You'll get the child's best performance if the screen is administered by a trusted and familiar adult like a parent or teacher. In our district, classroom teachers administer the screen. Prior to screening, parents provide invaluable background information which helps us form a more complete picture of the child. Parents are their child's first teachers and offer a unique perspective from outside of the educational setting. Only they are most familiar with their child's likes, interests, strengths, needs, fears, and past experiences. Working together with professionals to share information and concerns will ensure the most complete and accurate assessment of their child's development.
How has your district traditionally screened children, and how have you engaged parents in the process?
I'm proud to work in a district that is committed to the early identification and delivery of intervention services to children with special needs. Early identification is key and begins by conducting thorough and accurate developmental screening. In our district, we use the ESI, Early Screening Inventory, to screen all children entering our program. Classroom teachers administer the screen approximately 6 weeks from the beginning of the school year. This period of time allows for children to become comfortable with their environment and their teacher, thereby improving the chances of getting the child's best performance when screening occurs. Before screening begins, a letter is sent home to parents explaining our policy and asking them to assist us by filling out a questionnaire that accompanies the screen. This parent questionnaire provides valuable information for the evaluator, including the child's biographical data, medical history, social emotional development, and self-help skills. During this period prior to screening, teachers carefully observe their students and at the same time are beginning to form trusting relationships with their parents. We're very fortunate to work in a neighborhood school where we can see and talk to most of our parents on a daily basis. This allows teachers and parents to share any questions or concerns they may have regarding their child in an informal and non-threatening way. Simultaneously, members of the PERT team, including the social worker, master teacher, and myself, are also developing relationships with parents by engaging them in daily conversations and by demonstrating caring and concern for their children during student drop-off and pickup. Therefore, if a circumstance does arise in the future where student screening results indicate a cause for possible further evaluation, these trusting relationships with parents have already begun to be established before such news has to be delivered.
How important are parent partnerships if further evaluation beyond screening is recommended?
If a child's screening results indicate the possibility of a developmental delay and that a referral to child study team is warranted, a formal meeting with parents is requested to discuss what options are available to get support for their child. These meetings are a great opportunity for parents to share relevant information or concerns they may have about their child with the team. In turn, team members must demonstrate their authenticity and passion for getting their child the support they are entitled to and to help guide parents through the evaluation process. These meetings can sometimes be difficult for parents. Members of the PERT team are often the first ones to bring specific concerns about the child's development to the forefront. Understandably, news of such a delicate nature can be distressing for parents, and as a result, these encounters can become quite emotional. This probability highlights the importance of having already laid the groundwork for building partnerships with parents. Parents are more likely to have confidence in the information you are conveying to them about their child's development, as well as any recommendations you're making if they already perceive you as a trusted source. These relationships with parents continue on throughout the evaluation process as they are requested to provide ongoing and more detailed information about their child and share in decision-making with the team.
How did COVID-19 impact developmental screening this year, and what adjustments were needed for success?
In-person screening this school year was not a viable option for us due to safety concerns associated with the pandemic. Luckily, our administration was foresighted enough to investigate and decide upon a worthwhile alternative, the ASQ3, Ages and Stages Questionnaire. The ASQ3 is a 30-question developmental screen that parents can administer to their child at home. Once completed, parents are asked to return the screen to us for scoring and interpretation of results. Now more than ever, we would need to rely on our parent partners in order for us to complete the task of screening all of our preschool students. Our preschool team met at the beginning of the year to discuss potential challenges that might stand in the way of us achieving our goal, and then move forward to formulate a plan. We knew our first order of business was to decide on how we were going to educate our parents on the screen and its importance. We decided to offer an informational workshop for our parents prior to mailing as part of one of our bi-monthly huddle-ups hosted by our preschool social worker. At the workshop, we reviewed developmental milestones, reviewed the ASQ3 screen and its importance, and offered whatever assistance parents might need in order to complete them. Our next step was to send the screen home to parents, along with a letter enlisting their help, together with an explanation of the changes in the screening process and the necessity for accurate completion. Offers of assistance to parents were reiterated once again in the letter, and then the incentives in the form of Wawa gift cards were given for timely return of the screens. Once screens were returned and reviewed, we follow up by sending the results along with thank you letters to our parents for their participation in the process. We also provided them with suggestions for developmentally appropriate activities that they could engage in with their child at home to promote further development. For those screens that were not returned, individual phone calls were made to parents to inquire as to whether they needed some more clarification or assistance in order to complete them. When speaking with parents, it was important to keep in mind and be sensitive to the incredible stress that they were facing this year due to the circumstances related to the COVID-19 pandemic. In no way did we want to put unnecessary pressure on them during this difficult time. These phone calls with parents were well received and resulted in the return of many more completed screens.
What have you learned during this pandemic, and what will you do differently going forward?
First and foremost, this experience has magnified just how important our parents are as partners in the education of their children. This year, we needed to rely on them in a way we never have before, and in the face of whatever other responsibilities they may have had or hardships they were confronting, they came through for us. Moving forward, we have decided to incorporate the use of the ASQ3 screen in conjunction with the SI for those students whose scores reflect moderate or significant concerns about their development. Doing so would provide us with a more complete picture of the child and thereby assist us in planning and decision-making.
We hope you enjoyed our session. It is our hope that you learned something that you can use in your program. Thank you for joining us.